Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Hello, guys. How are you? Can you hear me? Hopefully you can hear me. We have a new setup slightly this week, so I decided to do it on the beach. You missing me? Because I'm on the beach. Well, actually, I will be on the beach in about another 10 days. I'm actually going to go to Mexico for a few days, take the kids there. I know everybody's kind of going, oh, it's coronavirus time, but, you know, we know the safety measures. So lots happened in the last month that we've... since we've had the VertCon, some of you attended. Thank you for that. And we've got another big one coming on April 3rd that we're working on right now. I've got we've already increased the number of presenters we've got. We're probably going to have at least 12 presenters this next time. We've got more celebrities coming. We'll have Carrie Henn again. This time we've also got Kelly Hu. We've got a number of others that are coming as well. So we're really kind of excited about that. And we're going to be looking at vendors as well next. That's our next job. But we already have a couple decided, but we want to have at least 10 to 15 vendors, 10 to 15 celebs, you know, 12 or so different instructors and that. So it'll be a really big con. This one will be from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But you can also view it if you miss any of the instructional lessons that go on. You can also view them for 48 hours or so after the event, because they will be recorded. Obviously the celebrity and the vendor section won't be, but the rest of the things, if you miss them, if you want to take one class and you go, oh, I don't know which class to take, then you can actually go and view it after the event. We're also working on our live events. We've got a bunch of those happening really soon. We've got Austin coming up. We're doing Santa Clara. That's going to be launched pretty soon. We're looking at New York. We've got Ohio we're looking at. We're also setting up for Florida again. We've got a bunch of different things coming up. So we're really, from March onwards, we're going to be having about 2 and then possibly 3 a month all the way through, or part of the summer months. And then we're setting up also for 2 other virtual cons, VertCons. The next one on April 3rd is Lights, Camera, Action, or the whole basis is going to be on the action in the movies, and from sword work to guns to stunts, etc. So we're going to have a variety of people attending, and you know, we'd love you to share it. So when that comes out, start sharing it so we can actually get a good number of people to view it, so that we can make this successful and bring you another one, which we will be doing in May 15th, I think it's going to be. That is going to be a Highlander one. We're planning on doing a Highlander one. I says planning, don't hold me to it, but we're planning on bringing a Highlander one together and bringing all guest stars from all over the world that actually performed on Highlander. So a lot of people you've never seen before, you never saw them at cons because we couldn't afford, or the convention couldn't afford to take them there. We're going to probably try and get them for you to meet and to talk to, as well as a bunch of other people, you know, from writers, directors to all these people. So we're going to be contacting all of them to see if we can actually get a great convention going there. And then in June, we have another one happening. That one will be about June 26th. We've got another one happening there, but that one I'm going to actually hold off on telling you about that one, but that one's going to be even bigger than these. We're making them big as we go, and hopefully we can bring you really great content for not a lot of money, because the great thing about virtual, apart from the fact, you know, the live events actually allow you to meet people face to face, the virtual ones do give you the experience of being able to see a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily see in a con, because you just don't have time to go from one end of the convention hall to the other to go and visit all the different Q&As and instructional events that are happening. So we find that this format could work very well mixed in, but all different types of formats. We're not going to just look at the sword experience. We're going to be looking at all different types of things. We even have injury prevention and exercises in our next one. We've got meditation in the next one. We'll have workout in the next one as well. So there's going to be a whole bunch of things for you to look at, try, and then if you want, you can actually contact these instructors to continue some of the exercises and some of the things that they are teaching online, and so you can contact them that way. Or if you're in the same city as them, then you can actually visit them once this crazy world has kind of come back to a subnormality that it is. I mean, I guess some of you know that a lot of people are leaving the cities right now. New York's lost 109,000 people last year, which is up 460%, I think it is, from 2019. A lot of other cities have gone. People are going to more rural areas, and Tennessee seems to be the #1 spot that everybody seems to be going to, because I think it's temperate climate to a degree. So it's been a very interesting year, and I think, as I said before, it's about adapting to a different environment and doing different things. We're also, by the way, some of you may have seen, we previewed just a little bit of our Star Wars-esque type of institute that we are getting behind with Richard Gainey out of Florida, and that one we are developing into a full-fledged program and institute that for you Star Wars fans out there will help you not only learn a martial art that kind of gets you the Jedi, but also the philosophy behind it and the Boken, or should I say lightsaber. Shh, don't tell Disney I said that. But yeah, so we're developing that as well. So there's a bunch of things that this online community has actually been able to achieve for us. So we're really kind of excited to bring that to you guys. Now, I'm going to have the first question. I was actually doing Wild League. The question, I think, is from Claudia, asked what type of experience I had in Russia while I was shooting Wild League. I'm not sure what type of experience you're talking about there, Claudia. I mean, going to Russia is always different. I remember actually, because shooting Wild League was fun, because it was they have great extras. It's slightly cheaper to shoot in Russia than it is in Hollywood. So many prices are so high here, and the thing is that there were great actors. There's a lot of great sets that they built. The thing I really love to do, they actually converted it was a grassy area, and it was just a flat grass, and they then built a semi-stadium behind it, because this was set up in the 1900s where the first set of soccer was really started. And I said, listen, I want to play. I mean, I've got to. So as luck would have it, they were like, no, it doesn't work with the film, etc. And I said, well, it kind of does because of X, Y. And it would, as luck would have it, the day before I had my death scene, and when they had all the fake blood, it went on all the costume that I was actually wearing at the time. So the next day they're like, well, we have nothing. Well, I said, put me in the soccer jersey then, of course. So I spent, I think it was the next day and the day after that, I think it was the next day, I did the scene, but then I did some playing, which eventually ended up in the movie. But I was kicking this leather ball, and back then, they're not like soccer balls today, which are light and bouncy. And these leather balls are like bricks in a sense. You can hit them, and I was hitting this thing for probably about 2 hours or whatever. Afterwards, I was so sore in the psoas here, right in the front area here, because you're not used to that type of weight being kicked. So that's an experience I had. I was in pain a little bit for like a day or two afterwards, but it was fun to hit a soccer ball again. Now I get to do it with my son, so that's always fun. If I was to make Highlander series today, Mark is asking me what changes to the concept or characters would I make? Well, obviously today Highlander would be entirely different, because you've got what we're doing right now, virtual and computers, blockchain and cryptocurrency. I mean, imagine that. I mean, eventually we're going to be in a society that everything is logged. Everything you do will be logged. Every transaction you make, everything, they will know the blockchain. That's what the blockchain is. It will do all of that. So imagine Duncan MacLeod or any immortal going out and then having to try and figure out a way to stay out of the blockchain. It would be almost impossible to do. They'd have to live in the mountains. So I think it would be an interesting concept to see how you would get around that in today's society and future society, because that window of anonymity, anyway, I know the word, but it gets smaller, right? It's gotten so much smaller now. So you have to now figure out a way to live in that smaller area. Whereas before, you could travel from one place to another, spend 100 years, 200 years here and there, and nobody would know the difference, because photos weren't taken, except when they got to the 1900s. Those things did get a little bit tricky for us. But other than that, you know, the life would change dramatically. Elizabeth Grayson and I created a mini play, which we may do on the Highlander Con. Just saying, not sure if we will yet, but we did this play that we wrote. It was about a 25-minute play about MacLeod and Amanda now living 20 years after the end of Highlander, and where their lives had gone and what the state of the world was. And I'm not going to tell you the story, because those of you that don't know it, you should have turned up, shouldn't you? No, but the reality is that this story actually, it kind of sits in what's happening today with a slightly different twist to Highlander. And again, I don't know what the outcome of what that story would be this today, as well as the fact that they're supposedly doing a new movie, but I have no idea whether that's actually going to happen or not, because I've not heard a thing about it. So what's the next question, Heather?
If you could make a Highlander series.
That was the same one. Oh, that was the one I just answered, I think. I answered...
what changes would you make?
Yeah, the changes, yeah. The changes I'd make, I mean, you know, to concept and characters, the series, I wouldn't change. The concept really has to stay the same. I mean, it just doesn't change really, because the concept is you live forever, unless you have your head cut off. That's kind of the exciting part of what Highlander is. But so I think that concept would have to stay the same. I think Holy Ground may lose its edge a little bit, because you know, religion today, 11, 15, 11, 20, I guess.
Oh.
Am I back, guys? Let me make sure that also the audio is picking up this particular one.
We are back.
Hello, guys. There was a glitch in time then. Can you hear me okay? Hopefully you can hear me okay. Just, you know, the funny thing is, that's the thing about internet. Something in the middle, it just cuts out. I think we cut out at the point where I was talking about Royce running down and looking in the store where the bottles were on the shelf, and he decides to just take the bottles all the way off the shelf, and I'm eventually trying to put them back up, trying to apologize to the store manager again for my son. So, I mean, that's one moment, and then I always remember another one I mentioned. You know, the funny thing is, a lot of people, when they see somebody that they recognize on the streets, I think they think we don't see as we're walking down, because you see people run past you and look back again and go, it's him, it's her, whichever it is. And so, you know, you see that at the corner of your eyes. And this is what I talk about when I'm talking about in sword work. You have to have a peripheral vision. Well, we all have peripheral vision. We see these things out the corner of our eyes. And one time I was walking down the Champs-Élysées, and any of you that have been to Paris will know that Champs-Élysées is a very busy street. And you know, it was during the Highlander years when, you know, I really didn't go anywhere without being recognized. And I walked down the street, and I saw these two guys run past and do exactly that. They were like, run past, they'd stop for a minute. It's him. And they'd walk back past me. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And then I see him go past me again, and they keep going. I don't think anything of it. And I'm walking down the Champs-Élysées, and I get to the corner and at the lights, and I push the button, and I look to my right, and as I see him, this one guy is standing. One guy falls to his knees. The other one goes on top of him and goes, choo, ah! And I'm like, oh no, really? Yeah. Hi, good morning. Hello. Yep. And I've got to go. So, you know, that's another one. Or the time I was in the Vatican, that actually was more embarrassing, I think, the Vatican experience. When I actually, first time I think I'd ever been to the Vatican, and I was just awed by the massive statues made out of marble and the gold, and it was just astounding. And I was just literally Google-eyed, and I'm going from one to the next, and then all of a sudden I start hearing screaming, it's him, ah! And I'm like, what the? and then there's like a gaggle of girls came by and they start screaming and shouting. And so they come to me and they say, excuse me, so you're going to have to leave. I'm like, what? I said, I'm not doing anything. It was really because what could I do? There was nothing I could do about it. I say, excuse me, can you just keep it down a little bit? But, you know, so it's those moments are kind of embarrassing because the focus is on you, not on somebody else screaming. They actually moved them along and then try to kick me out of the Vatican. So that was rather an embarrassing moment for me. But I'll take another question, I think, at this point. And
you know what you were talking about with religion? Somebody said
religion.
Mm-hmm.
Religions today have changed a lot. I think, you know, there's the not fundamentally. I mean, I think fundamentally you still have the same thing, but the Catholic Church, for instance, has lost a lot of churches. I know, for instance, in England, there are a lot of churches that have been converted into apartments, flats, and you know, around the world, I think the numbers have dropped, and I think it just really has switched to a different type of awareness, perhaps. I think a lot of people today are not as religious as they were 100 years ago, perhaps. And I think it has something to do with knowledge and the ability to now see the world for perhaps more of a spiritual thing rather than a religious thing, religious way of looking at things. I also think that a lot of religions are great if they teach love and respect, but sometimes they translate their I want to call it Bible, but it's not the Bible in every word, but certain words are then manipulated by people to for their own gains. They'll read a passage and they'll say, well, it means this, which could be translated 3 or 4 different ways, but some people try and translate it for a different meaning. And I think that's where I say that people are more aware, because now there's more information for them to gather and make a decision based on their own exploration. And that's why I say to people, you've got to explore the things that are sent to you. Actually, I'll give you an example of this, which was really interesting. There's a video I put on my Facebook page just recently, and it shows a hawk or this massive eagle come flying down and grab this child and pick it up and almost take it away. And people were like, "Oh my God, that was real! Oh my God, oh my God!" Well, actually, it was. I found out there was actually a school project by students, and visual effects were made. Now, you are given this thing, and so at face value, you are sent something. You go, "Oh my God, look at what's happening," and you immediately respond to it. And that's part of the problem that's happened in America now, is that all this disinformation from one end to the other has been going backwards and forwards, and people take it to face value rather than let me check out and see what this does. Go to Snopes or something to see whether it's false or true. So you really have to sort of get your own information now. More so, I mean, the internet gives you the ability to do it, except we're just too lazy to do it because lives run so fast these days that, you know, you just can't, you know, keep up. And so you just go, well, I'll just take it for what I've just been told. Somebody now just asked, Dennis asked, in the episode Mythos, when Duncan keeps reading that book, is it a real book written by me or somebody else by the same name? No, that was not. I didn't write the book. You know, that's what they actually put into the thing. I probably had to write a passage, because that's what we used to do whenever you used to see any writing of Duncan's or mine or Duncan's, whichever one you want to look at. I would write my handwriting so that at some point it would be the same if we actually had to do it 2 or 3 times in the year. So I would do that. So I can't remember if I did it in that particular book, but you know, I still have this image of Peter Wingfield, and one of the first times I met him, and I remember going up to him, because I was always very passionate about, you know, getting the fights right, making sure the characters were there. You know, whenever a new guest star came in, I would always welcome them and go and talk to them, especially if I had a reaction with them or an action with them. And I remember talking to Peter. I'd say, yeah, we'd be doing this, and you know, the immortals do this, and when we do the fights, da, da, da. And Peter would just look at me going, yeah. And afterwards, I kind of realised he had no clue about what I was talking about at the beginning. He just heard about Highland, this job, so he went and did this job, you know. And so Mythos is really Peter. I mean, it's just, you know, he has that nonchalant, yep, one of the things Peter really does well, and many of you that know him, he does this, he goes, yep, So it's kind of the same thing as Mythos does, which kind of just takes things in his stride. And, you know, I saw Peter, actually, Peter was in the delivery, in the NICU, when my son was born a year ago. He had to go into the NICU for 2 weeks because his heart rate wasn't, his sugar levels were not high enough. It's amazing that, isn't it? When we're older, we actually have to have sugar levels less, but when we're younger, we want to make sure that sugar is up so we actually can perform correctly. Our functions can work. Anyway, so Peter came into I had coffee with him, and it was a year ago, and you know, he obviously he's a doctor. He's actually a doctor. He's an anesthesiologist, and he came in and saw the baby, and I actually have a picture with him, which I might show you at some point. But so he was actually one of the first people, I think, to actually see our son, apart from the delivery people and maybe one other, my wife's best friend. So you know, love Peter, and hopefully I can get him. I know I can get him for the Highlander Con. So you know, I'm looking forward to doing that one. Next question is, do I ever get starstruck? You know, yeah. I mean, you know, when you admire people, there's always a portion of, wow, this person I've watched or I've seen things for so long. I mean, I never met Sean Connery, although I knew of him, of course, and apparently he knew of me, because my sister-in-law ran into him one time, you know, and said to him, "Oh, my brother-in-law is actually plays the Highlander and such as that." You know, yeah, that's right, Adrian Paul, I think. Anyway, so there, and I actually, I'll tell you one time I did. This was really funny. Right at the beginning of my career, I was actually invited to a party, and this party was during the Oscars, and there were all stars that were on the screen coming into the party, and I was sitting down, and I'm watching the screen, and I'm watching those people that are on there walk through the door, and all of a sudden I look in, and Al Pacino walks in, and I go, "Oh," and he goes, "No, don't get up." And I was like, "Okay, fine, Al," you know. So because you know, Al Pacino, you know, it's an icon really. So it was like, and I actually no, he actually said, "Don't you dare get up." That's what he said, "Don't you dare get up." I was okay, fine, but the other thing is, I really find it funny because, you know, we all know the line, "Say hello to my little friend," right? And so it's become, actually, it's, you know, lines tend to morph into other TV shows from time to time. The Highlander line's been used like a few times in various TV shows, or it's been referenced. And that line, "Say hello to my little friend," was also put into a kids show that my kids watch. And so all of a sudden I'm seeing Royce turn around and go, "Say hello to my little friend, say hello to my little friend." I'm like, where did you see that? You haven't seen Scarface. What you do? "Oh, no, it's on the TV show." I said, "Well, you know where that comes from, don't you?" He says, "No." I said, "It comes from a TV show, from another film." He goes, "Oh, really?" I said, "Can I see it?" I'm like, it's a bit violent, but so I went on YouTube and looked at that little clip of it, just as he does it. I didn't show him anything else, but so you're seeing Pacino load the gun. "Are you on this? Say hello to my little friend." Boom! My son thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. So for another 3 weeks after that, "Say hello to my little friend" became the operative word that kept going around. I'm not sure what the one is today, but each few weeks it changes with something else. Did I change my tattoo? No, not yet. I've got to add another what letter there? Not sure what the guy that did it. I would have done it last year, but I haven't seen the tattoo artist that actually did it for me, and I want to get the same guy to do it. So I haven't changed it. I'm actually might get another one soon. I'm thinking about it, but I'm just so busy that I can't do it. But no, I haven't changed it yet, and you know, I can't have little 7 not on here, but you know, because I've got everybody else on here. ARA sounds like IRA. don't think a lot of people would appreciate that, but. And if I put on S in front of this, it would be Sarah. And then I'd get in trouble, wouldn't I? S-A-R-A? No, my wife wouldn't like that, would she? Who's Sarah? I don't know. Anyway, how do I feel about Patreon? Patreon is, I think it's a good platform. We're trying to actually look at, as I said, we're changing a lot of things at the Sword Experience. And we may move some of that content onto the website itself. We've got a new webmaster. We've replaced the one that changed our site because we found a few issues with it, and I think we'll have a better structure. So we're adding several things to the website. We have the virtual conventions. We have the new platform, which is going to be the Star Wars. It's an interesting name. It's an institute. That's part of the name, but you will never know what the I'm not going to tell you what the name of it is. I'll tell you afterwards once I've got the trademark cleared. But we've got that happening, and then we're trying to bring the community to the website rather than actually go to Patreon and do it. So we'll have some different things. I think it's a good platform. I think, however, you really need to market any platform that you're on, and we haven't really done that. The reason we started it was really to connect to the fans and make sure everybody was still with us during the pandemic. Whether that Patreon lasts much longer, I don't know. So we'll let you know that soon. But it's one of those things that we are developing. Benoit asks whether I like live or virtual training. I like live training. Virtual training is great. I love doing it. But the hands-on, the thing about the live training is I can literally see everybody, what they're doing and how they move, so you can adjust things a lot easier. Virtually, that's why we actually have on the platform, we have the reviews that I get from people. I give challenges to see what people are doing. The most recent one that the challenge I did for this last week was what I call the Parabolic Curve, because for the past year I've been telling people go all the way around like this. Now I'm telling them you can actually go around and cut it shorter, because as I said, that circle that you've created can be smaller. You can do it like this, or you can do it like this, or you can do it like this. So it really depends on how that is. So to see that is easier when I'm in front of somebody. When I get your individual movements, you've worked on them for a little bit, so I can still see the things that need improvement, but I think it's easier to do it when it's live. Now, that said, those of you that are doing the training, some of you have asked me about the reverse sword. Well, that's what we're going to start with next week. We're going to be working on the reverse sword and how to utilize that and why it's used. I don't know if any of you know, the reverse sword's not used a lot. The reason why, because there's not as much power as you're actually generating in there. And the reason I actually did the challenge and the movements with the parabolic curve and the hip movement is because in the reverse sword you need the hip movement to make it really effective, so that when you're moving you've got all your body behind it, as well as the cut, so that you're moving the rest of your body and connected to the ground rather than just operating on the top portion, which a lot of people tend to do up here, but they're not really centered on the ground, and therefore they don't have the power when they actually get into the real situation. So that's what that is. Any updates on the t-shirt designs? Yes, they are now in production. I just okayed the t-shirts. We will have sweatshirts as well. I'm just finalizing the colors on the sweatshirts. The designs have been done. We'll have those out, I'm hoping, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm really happy about that. It's been a while because we've had so many things changing with Christmas and the virtual con, but we have had those. The t-shirts have been fun to do, and I think they're going to look really cool. And I think they're a nice addition to everything we've got. We won't be doing black. Just thought I'd let you know, because we've already got our black t-shirts, so we're going to do different colors. So we're going to try and bring you either one color in a sweatshirt, one color in a t-shirt, or maybe 2 colors in each. So depends how much I can invest in putting all those things out there. But yes, those will be coming out, and I'm happy to actually bring that in, and we'll definitely have them ready for the next virtual convention. So hopefully you guys can see us when you get to those. Can I add the Sword Experience spindle weights to the site for individual purchases? They are on there actually for individual purchases, I believe. I will check, but I think you can buy them, and if they're not, I'll have them put on there. The spindles, yes. When you add those spindles on there, it does give you extra weight. I've done that in a couple of the training videos where I've actually had 4 spindles on the thing instead of 2, so it gives you that extra weight. But if you don't want to wait for that, you can go to the store and get yourself a small 2-pound plate or a 1.5-pound plate. Trust me, you put a 1.5-pound plate on one of those things, it will be heavy. You've got to be very careful though with the trainer, because if you extend out too far, you're going to put a lot of weight on the shoulder. So you want to make sure you're bent when you're doing those motions and try and keep it close. I'm also going to be releasing in another 2-3 weeks. We're just putting that into the process now. I recorded it once, but I wasn't happy with the recording. Was a video tutorial on actually using the trainer. After that, we're then going to be actually putting videos out that actually there'll be workouts with the trainer itself. So that one will probably happen in another couple of months, 2-3 months. But the actual tutorials for the trainer itself will come out hopefully sooner than that. What's my favourite thing about Ireland? Darren. Darren, how are you? I think the sense of humour sometimes. I think Irish sense of humour is kind of funny. But you know what? I just love it's so beautiful. It's just such a beautiful country. I just can't stand the wet so much. I mean, you know, that's the one thing about it. It's like a lot of time it's so wet. And but you know, when it's sunny, it's Darren, I think you were actually at the very first. I think this is Darren Hayes talking about this. You were at the very first Sword Experience, and one of the comments I got was, you know, we actually did testimonials, and we said to people, what did you find surprising about today? And one of them went, because we'd had a beautiful sunny day, and one guy went, the weather, because it was usually raining. I've actually been extremely lucky in Ireland with weather. And, you know, the only time it began just a little bit raining was when we did it in 2019. I can't believe it's been nearly 2 years. 2020 just went by like a flash. We're still looking at possibly doing Ireland this year. Well, I've got to really assess a few things, you know, but it will probably be later in the summer that we would do it. And it's going to be depending on where I'm going to be, because a lot of different things happening in my life at the moment in that respect. So hopefully I can get another job, and that will take me away, and none of you will see me for another year. All right, I'm 9. No, but so Ireland's been, and the other thing I like about Ireland are the amazing old castles that you see there. I was going to say ruins, but you don't want to say that. And the other thing that really surprised me about Ireland was how clean some of the places are. I mean, the beautifully manicured places. I'm driving. I remember driving to Trim from Dublin, and got off the motorway and going through these areas and looking at the houses, how nice and clean they were, and how you know, well manicured the gardens were. It's probably because it rains so much that it washed all the dirt off the houses anyway. But I don't know. Anyway, next question is: can I provide a V-neck t-shirts to ladies cut? Maybe. We'll look at that. I can see if I can. I know some ladies like the V, sometimes like the T. The round neck. We actually had those older t-shirts, the training t-shirts, which again we might bring those back as well. But actually, we might, if I do 2 different types of t-shirt, that I might bring one circle and one V out, so you can actually try them on in different ways. You girls like it low here, don't you? Is it because you like to show the necklaces that us boys get you? Is that what it is? Actually, my wife got me this one. Do you know this? Well, I'll tell you a story about this. I was filming some of the training, and as you see, I go to various places because the backgrounds, I think you need to be able to do it in different areas to keep it interesting. And I don't think you want to see it always in a white background or the same area in a park or whatever. So I went to this one area where you see it has like a tile effect in the background. It's the past 3 or 4 ones we've been doing, and I shot there, and as per normal, I'm running from one thing to the next, and I have to take this off a lot of the time when I do it because it'll bang against the mic that I wear. So I took this thing off and I packed things up, and then a couple of days later, 3 days, I'm like, where on earth? I don't see my necklace. So I look in my camera bag, which I normally keep, it's not in there. I look in my other bag, it's not in there. I'm like, uh-oh. So literally a week's gone by, and I've got to go back to the place to film, and I go back, I think it's the only place it would be there, and I'm like, so I walk up to the place and I'm like, there's no way on earth I'd find it. If it's here, it's gone, you know, it's like, had it. And I see on the ground a lock that came from my bag. I'm like, oh my God, there's the lock from last week. And I look, and there it is in the grass. It's been sitting in the grass for a week. Nobody found it. It's a diamond necklace that's been sitting, and my wife gave me. She'd already said, oh, you lost the necklace, did you? Oh, good. Oh, fabulous. So I was almost in trouble. But, you know, I got away with it this time. What's my favorite movie I've ever done? You know, there's a couple I've done, I kind of, for different reasons I like them. I like The Immortal Voyages of Captain Drake because I had such a blast doing it. It was such a tongue-in-cheek movie. The funny thing is, it wasn't supposed to be. I kind of turned it into that, and all the whole cast kind of like followed me to do it, because when I first got it, I looked at it and I went, okay, I can see this is a lower budget, and they've got probably not a lot of things for visual effects. So what's going to make this interesting? So whenever I do a character, I always research characters, and I always go through and see who they were. And looking at who Sir Francis Drake actually was, I found that he was very conceited, self-absorbed, and many things. So I thought, that's how I should play him. So when we first started doing it, I kind of mentioned this to the writers, and they were like, yeah, okay. So I started doing that, like, oh my gosh. Oh. And then everybody else started doing the same thing. And it kind of, especially the first 2/3 of the movie, then it became kind of serious. But the first 2/3 of the movie, I mean, he's very conceited. And I think that's what was fun about it. It was not playing this serious character anymore. So that was really a lot of fun to do. Another one I really enjoyed was The Breed. And that one was very, how can I put this? The director was very precise about his look for the movie. And I was very precise about the character for the movie. So as you saw, I had a little thin pencil mustache. I mean, the certain walk he had was more like a glide, because I wanted him to glide around rather than move like this. So so creating that, it was really fun. It was a fun time to do that. It was also when I actually went to Budapest and I landed on my head. That was not fun in that movie. So I do remember that. That caused me a lot of neck injury. But the Breed was another. And the last one, which was really a mind screw, was 9 Miles Down, because that was really a psychological thriller. So the things that were going through that time, you know, I'm actually doing the next Film Fight Insights, which should be out in a couple of days. We're a little late because I actually smashed my camera, just so that you know. So I had to get a new lens, unfortunately. So a few days late on the Film Fight Insights. But I talk about going to Tunisia and actually seeing the Star Wars set, because the next one we're doing is going to be a Star Wars edition. And the set is still there. And when I did 9 Miles Down, I actually went to do that. So the great thing is, all these things that they give me great opportunities to see things that I might not necessarily go and see. So I've been very blessed in that respect to be able to go from one thing to another. When am I coming to Florida? If we do Florida, it's going to be May time. We're looking at. That's what we're looking at doing is in May. I can't give you a date at the moment because it's not set. So and again, it would be in between Tampa and Orlando area. We've got Richard Gainey down there who can set things up for us, and I think it's important to be able to revisit a place. This one is actually going to be an academy. It's not going to be the same elite. It's going to be a different type of event. So it'll be, you'll get the choreography, you'll get the technique, but you're also going to get the fitness, and you can sign up for any one. So I'm trying to open the academy events up into different areas so that we've got more variety as we go from place to place. And of course, you know, the best thing about it is actually meeting your friends and meeting new people you never met before. So that's what we're planning on doing for Florida. And Austin is going to be fun because we're just putting out a lot of the things we've found in Austin. And again, many of you may know my motto in the sense of the fight I choose is really based on the location we go to, and that was really given to me by Bob Anderson, who, you know, was always saying, you know, you don't take a fight and put it in the location, you create a fight around the location. And so this one we found in Austin is an old ghost town. So we're going to do the spaghetti western type of sword fight. So it's going to be all like da -da 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 -da. That's going to be the theme. So we're really so I'm gonna be writing that one up, and I may be able to give you a little tidbit for those of you that are going to go as to what that's going to look like, what that script is going to look like, and what we'll be looking for. So those of you that want to come and watch, come in your Western costumes, because we'll use you definitely in the town, and that's kind of part of it now. I'm actually able to incorporate the extras in there, so you don't just get to watch, you get to participate as well. You don't actually do the sword fight, but you could just be sitting there on the porch and watching the action go by. But you know, well, that's going to be the theme for the Austin event. So somebody said, just watched USS Poseidon Phantom below. Noticed there were scenes from the other movies in there. Is this normal? How does that work? Scenes from what other movies?
The movies were Hunt for Red October and Top Gun. So she's saying other movie scenes were in that movie. Is that normal? Oh
yeah, they do that a lot. I mean, you know, the thing is, I don't know whether it's the exact scene. Again, this was a semi-low, I wouldn't say low budget, but semi-low budget production that was shot in Hawaii, and they usually take stock footage to put into other movies. You'll see that in a lot of different things that are done. They don't have, it's cheaper to get stock footage from another movie than it is to go and take a team out and shoot it. So they'll just use it, and you'll never know the difference most of the time unless you're really paying attention as to whoever it was that noticed that. So, you know, yes, they probably stole some of those little pieces from there, but if you've never seen those other movies, you would never know, would you? So, but I kind of thought it was a good, it was kind of a good movie. I like that movie. That was a fun movie to work with, and it was a great area to be in Hawaii for like a couple of weeks. I was like, oh, fabulous. Which I really would like to go to Hawaii and do a sword experience. Any of you want to come with me? Sword experience in Hawaii? What do you reckon? Let me know, because I'll come up with that. Okay, can I clarify the push-pull for, what is it?
5A and 5B.
Typical ground seems too high. The push-pull for 5A, 5B. Okay, 5A. So I'm taking you're talking about 5A and 5D. 5A. Sorry, 5A is coming up this way.
5A and 6A.
5A and 6A. 5A and 6A. So this way you're talking, right? When you're cutting, you have to think of, you're not going to cut higher than really the shoulders because you're cutting through in this area here. So when you bring it up, you don't want to bring it up higher, much higher than the shoulder. But remember, this can also be stopped. So when you're actually coming up here, if somebody blocks it with a block from 5D or 6D, coming up, blocking it, your tip's only going to come to here. So this action is just to get you used to being able to do that particular motion. The key to that motion is going backwards behind you rather than doing it in front here. So if I have a boken in front of me, I don't have I don't have one, but if I was coming here and I brought it just to here and came up here, this is the circle rather than this being the circle. The reason for that is because this can also be a block, right? This can be a block. So as you're bringing it back here, you can then come up. So if I was, for instance, if somebody came for a top shot here, I could top shot them and then come up underneath them with the 5 or the 6A strike. So that block, you want to get used to being able to bring it backwards here and then bringing it up. As I said, you don't want to bring the tip all the way up here because there's no way it will come to this position. You want the tip comes just above the shoulder level, because that's really what you're aiming for, is a cut from the hip to, or from the hip, groin, knee area to the shoulder. This is the line that you're really looking for, and the line that you're looking for. Those of you that actually have the Sword Experience chart, the cutting chart, will see that that angulation is specific for that. And it's not an easy thing, because what you have to do is, when you're doing it, you have to turn your wrists as you're coming backwards. If you come backwards like this, it's really hard to get that motion back. Bringing your wrist back will actually then turn the blade to the bladed edge that you're blocking with, and then coming up with the bladed edge on this side. If you came back like this, it's harder to turn it in this action here. If I'm coming this way, I can cut this, but then that circle is harder to move. Those of you that do it will understand what I'm talking about, that this, as you're coming this way, you then have to shorten this up. It's a little bit of a shorter cut. It can be done, and usually if you had a back shot, you would then come up with this, you would create a transitional area to go from this back shot to turning the blade over to come up and use the bladed side to do the cut. So hopefully that helps. What was the motivation for the season 6 episodes, Avatar and Armageddon? The motivation, well, one thing was that the Highlander series was never something you would expect. The death of Alexandra Vandernoot, Tessa, came out of nowhere. And the thing was, we got to the point of season 5, and where we actually killed off Richie, Stan Kirsch's character, which I hated, really, to be honest. I mean, but it was me that actually said we need to find some dramatic thing, and they came up with the thing like, well, I think that this is where it's got to go to now. And I was like, okay. So when you're talking about Armageddon and that, it was really to create a transition for the show. And I mean, this is from the writer's point of view. I was the actor that was performing it, so I would get the scripts most of the time the week before and try and figure out what it was. But the idea was that there was, I think we took these shows into the other world version. The thing about Highlander, most of the time we're stuck in reality, apart from the fact that we're having to cut somebody's head off and we get a quickening. But most of the time it was regular reality, and it wasn't about spirits and anything else. Well, this one was about an alter reality, alter spirit. I always believed that MacLeod's, who he was today, was based in who he had seen and met and become in the past. So his cutting of his hair, for instance, in, I think it was either Avatar or Armageddon, I can't remember which one it was, but was a symbol of respect and loss for having lost his student, in a sense, or his younger brother, if you want to call it another thing. And the symbol of doing that was very specific. And actually I don't think I have it here, but I do have a picture of that dojo the very first time I had the haircut, in that dojo, kneeling down, which they didn't use that particular take. So it's a rare picture. It's a big photo like this that I actually blew up because it was such a key moment in the series for me. I was at the point where I said, okay, it's time to cut the hair. So there was also another reason. It wasn't why I did it, but I actually thought it's a good motivation to do that, because cutting of hair is a real symbol of loss as well, and in many societies. So there was a lot of different things that symbolized what we do in our society today or in the past. Can you use kata for fight choreography? Yes, absolutely. You can take a section of a kata, but remember, a kata is really there for you to remember the moves. So you could take section 1 with section 7 and put them together, because in whatever kata you do, because really the reason Bruce Lee or his system was not handed down all the way through was because he didn't create katas. These are ways for you to remember those moves and those techniques, and as well as a way to learn those moves and techniques. When I first started doing katas, I didn't really understand how this type of motion works. I thought, I'm looking at it from this point of view. I'm doing this as for a punch, but I'm thinking of this as just a punch, but actually it can also be a throw. And so you have to look at, and also it's high or low. So, you know, you've got the 360 variant on it. So why I talk about things being in this circular motion is because I'm thinking of a 360. What happens here if I cut like this? I'm not just looking at the front, I'm looking at the back here. This guy behind me just got slapped in the face, right? So you've got to think of katas as being, take something and then dissect it and say, okay, if I moved this further over here, what would it do, right? I mean, you see a lot in movies when you see the moulinette, well, they call it moulinettes, which is this type of action like this. Real pretty. Most of the time it does no reference at all, just to switch hands and then cut perhaps. But there is one technique where it actually does, because if you do this here, it's a block. So you've got to take anything that you do, a kata, which you can turn into choreography, if you utilize it correctly and just say, okay, these 5 moves that are part of this kata, how could I adjust it and turn it into a choreographed piece? So it's pretty simple to do. Okay, another question we got now. How much of McLeod's character reflects who I am now? Well, I think McLeod, you know, opened my eyes up to a lot of things. You know, as I said, I research a lot when I do characters, and doing a lot of research about who McLeod was back in the 1800s, the 1700s, what life was like, what the political situation was there, what the war, who was grabbing for land, who was doing this, who was doing that, kind of made me form an opinion on society, human beings, and you know how we've developed and how we've a lot of the time not learnt a lot from our past mistakes. And so the honor McLeod has, there's a statement an acting teacher once said to me, and he said, you know, as you change as an actor, you'll change as a human being, and as you change as a human being, you'll change as an actor. I didn't kind of understand it when he first said it, but then going through the time, what I understood was the information you get, if you're a good detective as an actor, the information that you get really informs you into how you want to process that information for yourself. Because you can't tell me that, you know, you don't get, you hear about, you know, the slaughter of this. How does that make you feel? The slaughter of 1,000 people on the field of battle after it was done. Because how does that make you feel about the fact that it happened, the culture that did it, the reason that they did it? That has to inform you as a human being who you are. Does it? You can choose whichever way it does, but you do get informed on that. You do get, you know, it does change you. So McLeod's things that he did were partly who I was, but partly McLeod, and I think both kind of changed each other. As if you notice also, McLeod's character from the season 1 to season 5 did change. It was a different guy to a degree, much more serious in the very first few episodes. Watching them now when I'm doing Highlander Insights, I can see it. I can see how much more, you know, fixed I was on that. And I'm like, no, he had to, because then if you live that long, you have to have, it's like what ends up with Mythos. He's totally tongue-in-cheek with the entire thing of life, because he's like, well, I'm saving for myself. I'm saving myself for myself because, you know, really, I've seen all this stuff happen before, and, you know, so you kind of have a nonchalant, not nonchalant, but you've seen it all. So you have to not have, if you ran through life with that serious feeling the entire time, you'd be going nuts. You'd be crazy, and that's probably why some of them did. So McLeod's character I had to show the different sides to him, and that helped me as well. I mean, helped me actually really develop the Peace Fund, because of what, you know, what McLeod stood for, which was honour and integrity, and also never letting something go if it was something had happened. He really sort of went after the person to right the wrong, and I kind of felt that was the same thing that I would do. So there was a mixture of the two. Anyway, I think we've spent an hour now, so thank you for joining me. And as I said, keep coming back. We're actually going to be extending our YouTube channel. I've got another idea that we're going to be extending our YouTube channel for, which I'll be bringing, you know, in the next couple of months, hopefully. So we'll be working on that. We're constantly trying to add things to the channels and to the events to bring the community bigger, greater. The way you guys can help us is to share it. That's it. Like and share. That's what the words are today. Like and share. So hopefully I'll see some of you, Austin. Hopefully I'll see some of you at the virtual con that's coming up, as I said, April 3rd, and then also May 15th, and then June 26th. Keep those dates in your calendar, because you don't have to go anywhere. Don't have to spend the money on the hotel. Don't have to spend the money on the food or the booth space or any of that stuff. Just a small entry fee, which would actually get you a lot more than you actually be able to see at a con. So hopefully I'll see you there, and thank you so much for joining me today. And I'll bring you more Patreon stuff very shortly.